Gentlemen, welcome to Richmond. We're so glad to have you this weekend.
We're very happy to be here. I'll speak for you, Martin.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we're very happy to be here. Oh, Jesus. I think I chipped a tooth.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we really are happy. This is the most uncomfortable couch I've ever sat.
No.
If I fall asleep, don't blame me. Okay, good. Great.
Cool. What I'd love to do is I got a couple things I'd like to throw at you, then I'll go in the audience and take their wonderful questions. And
sure.
Something I'm curious about is, was there something that each of you learned on the West Wing that you did not know, a bit of trivia, something facet about the government, just something that you put down the script and you asked, is this a real thing? For me, it was the members of the cabinet at the end of a term offering letters of resignation, which were optional, and the Butterball hotline. Those were two things I did not know about that I learned about through the show. So was there was there anything that you guys came across like, is that, our government does this?
Yeah, there was a thing. There was a lot of things.
Right.
Almost every episode. I loved. I mean, this isn't something the government does, but I loved the Big Block of Cheese Day. The cartographers was. I didn't realize that was really a thing.
The pardoning of the turkey, I was not aware of.
Really?
I didn't really pay attention to the pardoning of the turkey.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, they really do this every year, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think Trump is ending it, though. I think we're going to kill the turkeys.
Well, he'll find to do something.
Yeah. No, they should die. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I will say I didn't even know that like the Charlie Young character existed until I.
Yeah.
You know, I knew about the chief of staff, the deputy chief of staff, the speechwriter, and everything like that. I did not know that he had a personal aide to the president.
And the casual nomiker of the personal aide was Butt Boy.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I didn't make it up.
No.
Yeah. Even I would go to D.C. sometimes and they would say, "Oh, so you're the president's butt boy?" I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Maybe two. Martin, was there anything that you discovered in the role that you never knew before?
Yeah, I didn't know I was so damn smart.
I believe Aaron's, I believe Sorkin said, he said a couple times that, you know, I'm not as smart as people think I am. I just try to write smart characters.
Yeah, Aaron says that. He says that all the time, but he's pretty convincing. I mean, that what he did, 4 years, basically, 22 episodes a year. That's 9 feature films a year. That complexity and that kind of joy and mixture of comedy and aspiration, nobody will ever do that again.
No. This, yeah.
I know Martin won't.
What?
No, that's. Go back to.
This was on set every day. This is
Yeah.
what it was like, you know.
By the way, it's a microphone, Mr. President. Yeah.
The only thing we're missing is Martin singing a song, which I'm sure will happen very soon.
Yeah.
How about this for each of you? What was the most memorable day you had on the West Wing set for you? I know there was a lot of them, but is there any one particularly sticks out for good or bad?
I got one. When Yo-Yo Ma was playing cello in between takes, and Dulé, if you don't know, is one of a world-class tap dancer. And Yo-Yo Ma and Dulé Hill doing a duet in between takes felt like heaven.
That was a day that I remember because I was trying to figure out how he was approaching the music, and I could not crack it. And then finally, I just went up to him, and I said, "How are you counting this thing?" And he started to explain it to me. And then by the end of the day, it finally started to click, and I was able to finally dance with him. And that was, as a musician in my mind, it was a nice, I guess, it was a nice challenge to get through in that moment. for me, another moment that sticks out to me is playing basketball in front of the White House with Martin and Brad and Richard and Rob and Jawan Howard.
Yes.
I had just, got the role of Charlie maybe a couple months before. And right before that, I was just trying to pay my bills. And then I'm turning around and I'm playing basketball with Jawan Howard, and right in the background was the White House. It was one of the most surreal moments of like, what is going on with my life? Like this, this is crazy. That one sticks with me a lot.
Fair.
How about you, sir? Any moments? I'm Brad Whitford. Any moments stick out for you? Any thoughts?
What?
When he chipped his tooth.
I just, I couldn't believe, one, that we got picked up.
Yeah.
And then that we had a successful season, because the show was clearly political, and it was clearly liberal and democratic. And I got to play a Catholic and a Notre Dame grad.
Yeah.
What are the chances? And I couldn't believe that we were going to succeed in commercial TV, that we were going to sell cars and insurance and pharmaceuticals and so forth.
And autographs, personal autographs.
Personal autographs, yeah. So that was always so gratifying. And as the show grew and we gained more and more momentum, then the administration changed.
Right.
But the show didn't.
Right.
People still responded to us because we were reflecting basically all of a great many of those people, and some of you may even be present here today, whose jobs are in jeopardy because of these lunatics that are in there right now. So the basic thing I learned about the program and about our involvement in it is that we're not asked to be successful. We're only asked to be faithful. And that's fallen on all of us now, because aside from the military, which is just about 2.5 million, most of the government, as we know, and we're coming to know how important they are just a little over 3 million people that stay from administration to administration. And they are the ones that are now on the front lines and falling like wounded soldiers now. So you've got to stay together, and we've got to support these people, and we've got to support these organizations. How in the hell can you conceive of destroying even any one of those agencies, starting with the Department of Education? And if you want to ban, I guess if you want to ban books, don't educate anybody. Maybe that's the plan. So, but I think that our fight has just begun, and we really have to stick together, and we have to remember that if what we believe is not costly, then we're left to question its worth. So if our government, if our country, if our communities are worth anything, now is the time to let those clowns in the White House know. And aside for that, this has been a pretty good year. What's your name again?
Patty.
Brad.
Patty. All the best. Good. All the best.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for indulging my capricious curiosity. Before I go on out there and take their awesome questions, on behalf of everyone, I just want to thank you all. I want to thank you for your talents, your professionalism, and for the performances you brought to these roles and throughout your entire collective careers. You've had a tremendous body of work. You brought so much entertainment to so many. And being a part of this show, with the tremendous cast of peers, with the fantastic writing and everything on else, this was something that it's giving us an inspiration, and it gives us something, a lot of people of us, to hope towards.
Yeah.
It's an ideal. The show was an ideal. And just like you said, we live in tumultuous times, but we know what direction to go into in our hearts. And thank you all for being a part of something that may have contributed to that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
that.
much.
And someday, I hope to talk to you about Ballers. I hope to talk to you about Studio 60. And I would love to talk to you about The Guardian, a very underrated film that I think, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
All right, we got a line over here.
This is the scary part.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Bree.
What do you got, Bree?
So if you could change one part of your character's storyline, what would it be? Because Josh and Donna, that should have happened a lot sooner. So besides that, obviously, because that's my choice, what would you have picked for your characters to say, oh, they should have gone this route sooner, or I wish they would have added this part of the storyline?
Me? I totally agree with you. How sort of emotionally constipated can a human being be to not recognize that he was deeply in love with Donna? The problem in television, unlike life, there is nothing more boring than consummation. So they had to kick that down the road, but that was definitely the obvious problem with Josh.
For myself, I don't know if I would necessarily have changed like the journey of the character. I would have liked to have seen his sister come into the fold. We talked about her so much.
Yeah.
That would have been good to see how Charlie's sister, they were so close, so why would he not have brought her to where he works and to meet the president and the staff and hopefully have her have some space to be able to be influenced by this powerful place. I wonder what she looks like.
What was wrong with Bartlett? Where do you begin?
Well, against my better judgment, I would have sought another term.
Yeah.
Here you go. Get two. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Megan. I am a former 10-year USAID employee.
Thank you. Thank you for being you.
Mr. President, gentlemen, I would like to know, given that Trump and its cronies have introduced legislation to allow him to run for a third term because it is not consecutive, since the Bartlett administration would not be consecutive at this point. Number one,
What?
can we see you guys come back together? And
We actually never separated.
It's true.
We're not retreating, we're just fighting in a different direction.
Yeah.
Now, I hear what you're saying. I think we have to deal with the reality of this fascism, because that's, in a word, what we're having to deal with. It took that man in Germany, from the time he was chancellor until he was the Führer, 53 days. Today, I think, is the 53rd day of this administration. So I think I know they had this prospect 2025, but I think it's Mein Kampf. That's who these people are. There's no humanity. There's abundance of cruelty. They have started, and the pale is the lie of the land. And history will not always remember, but heaven will never forget what we did or where we hid during 47's second coming.
I think the show is about a fundamental idea that is relevant, that has something to do with the fact that something we're all feeling now, I think, is despair. And despair is a luxury that our children cannot afford. And action is the antidote to despair. And the show is about the fundamental unfulfilled promise of a democracy, which is that the future is an act of our own creation, and we can't bail at this critical moment.
And I'll say, in terms of like your question of this administration coming back, I think that is always left in the hands of Aaron Sorkin. I think everyone would always say that if Aaron writes it, we will be there.
Very good. Great question. Thank you. And thank you for your service in the civil capacity. We appreciate it. Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Gio.
What you got, Gio?
So as Charlie once said, you guys weren't just the president and his staffers to me. You were the family I didn't have growing up. Brothers, fathers, uncles. Through all of it, the West Wing was there for me. And I'm supposed to be using this time for a question. So my question is, what is your all-time favorite comfort show that feels personally relevant to you on any day that, you know?
Go, baby.
Anything that Josh Molina is not in.
Yes.
No? I'm just playing. I'm playing Josh.
For me, it's the TMC. You know, anything with Fred Astaire or any of that crowd. I love to watch the old films, and occasionally a modern one comes up, but I prefer the old black and white films, frankly. I love musicals. So, yeah. Yeah.
Veep. Yeah. Sopranos is my comfort show.
I would say, in terms of television right now, it's The Righteous Gemstones. I just love that show. I love that show from top to bottom. It's just utter ridiculousness, but also I can see it out there in the world, so I think it's pretty brilliant.
I'm a fan too.
Oh, dang it. Well, thank you. I was just trying to get one of these sour punches, you see? So there we go. That would be it.
Thank you. Great question. Here you go. All right. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Radhika. I'm a brown immigrant woman in Trump's America for the second time. I actually forgot I was immigrant until 2016. So I fully feel what you guys feel, even more so because I'm very vocal in my community. I continually get threatened by Republicans, which I find very useful in discourse. If you were to be asked to play this administration in another show, would you feel comfortable playing out on screen what is happening to us in real life?
I've always said a West Wing show about a right-wing Republican administration wouldn't work because, you know, what's going to happen? The music's going to swell at the end, and, you know, we'll be high-fiving each other in the office, you know, in the Oval Office, saying, you know, we got a tax cut for the billionaires. You know, it's fundamentally unheroic. So I could do a takedown of them, but no, I wouldn't. We're not. I speak for all of us. We're not that good at acting.
No, thank you. Hi, what's your name?
Michael. My name's. Yes. So I've got a question about a storyline from the show, and at the risk of making light of some of the stuff that's been going on, Toby Ziegler lost his job for leaking information. And
When did that happen?
I'm wondering if he'd have been better off using the Signal Messenger app.
Yes.
Here's your candy.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think we all know the answer to that, you know?
Hey, what's your name?
Hi, Greg. So here we are at a conference, a convention that's for science fiction and fantasy. Here you three gentlemen are representing a show that was supposedly about the actual White House.
Oh no, this is all, obviously it's all fiction, our show.
That's what I wanted.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask. What do you think about that connection? Do y'all fit here? Do y'all fit in a fantasy conference? Should it be that way?
Well, I'll say this. I was telling Brad when I saw him yesterday, Handmaid's Tale is coming out soon, the last season. And I was telling him, I said, Handmaid's Tale is closer to our reality, and The West Wing is more fiction right now. So I think we do belong here right now. Maybe 20 years ago, no. It would have been too close to reality. But right now we are in this place where what we expect things to be are not. So
I always thought of the show as I remember I got in trouble once. The show is aspirational, but if like Aaron reminds us that if you look back, we didn't get a lot done. As an administration, the show was about navigating the kind of difficulty of democracy. I always said, people would say, "Oh, it's fake. It's a fantasy." And even though I love The Sopranos, I would go, "We're a fantasy? I think a mob guy in therapy is a fantasy." So that aspirational, it wasn't quite a fantasy because I thought it was about a very heroic ideal about how to sort of navigate a democracy. But yeah, unfortunately, Handmaid's Tale's a little bit of a documentary these days.
I mean, I hope you think they belong here. I mean, if you want, I'll end the panel now if you want. Okay, no, I'm not gonna do that. All right, good question. All right, thank you for your service to Starfleet. We appreciate it. All right, come on. Hi, what's your name?
Ananya.
What do you have for us?
I was wondering if you could go back 25 years to when the first season of The West Wing was first airing. What advice would you give yourself?
Go ahead.
I probably would give myself the advice that John Wells gave me the fourth time we were walking up the stairs at the Emmy Awards for winning Best Drama. I'll never forget, we were walking up the stairs and he said, "I've been in this business a very long time and this does not happen. It does not happen, so enjoy this moment because it doesn't happen." And it's true. I mean, the fact that the show got nominated all those years and won 4 years in a row and was receiving all the accolades and you're working with the best people, the advice I would give myself is to really enjoy it because this too shall pass, and 25 years later, the show is now in our rear view, even though it still is very relevant today, but that time and space is no more. So I think it's important to really enjoy where you are, because time passes, time travels. So that would be my advice I would give to myself.
I would have taken better care of myself if I knew the show was going to be so successful.
I actually think not joking at all, that getting to work with Martin was an amazing thing. And it's so funny because I remember in the first year you turned 60 and I was like, "Oh Jesus, he's 60?" Now I'm 65, but this incredible actor who I looked up to my entire life because he's so much older than me, was clearly, I really remember this. I could tell that because of all the experience he had, he knew that an experience like this is a miracle. And that you don't know how these things happen. There's a tremendous sense of magic and alchemy when these things work, when material meets a writer and a producer takes care of it and a cast comes together. It really is a kind of alchemy, and I always sensed from Martin that it was one of the greatest experiences of his life, and it was a reminder to all of us to really, really enjoy it.
Great question. Thank you. Hey, what's your name?
Hi guys, my name is Ben. I'm currently a senior in film school with a focus in directing and producing, and my goal is to go into show running. So my question is, you know, at the level that you guys were, what advice would you have for me to, like, in terms of like, as a showrunner, how can I collaborate with talent the best? How can I collaborate with writers the best? Like, what is your experience at the big professional level that you guys are at?
I can tell you, first of all, show running is a brutally difficult job. Brutally difficult. Everybody's mad at you. You have to be a chaplain, a coach. It's you know, it's a very difficult thing. The shows that really work are run by people who have the confidence to collaborate. And Aaron Sorkin works in a radically different way from the way John Wells works. John Wells recognized that and said, I'm going to collaborate with this guy, and I'm not going to hold the fish so tightly that it flops out of my hand. And then that goes down through the whole production. And instead of it being a fear-based exercise, which most of show business is, because there's so much money involved, it becomes like good parenting, where you allow your children to surprise you. I'll try and put that more pretentiously. No, I really mean that.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, what's your name?
My name's AJ. I am 22 years old, to put that much in perspective, and I've been watching West Wing my entire life because my mom will always watch it. Because of the show, I study political science, and one of my favorite scenes of all time is when you're all sitting in the office and Martin Sheen is reprimanding both of you because you brought his daughter to the bar. Because of that moment, I am inspired to ask you guys, what would be another project that's not a West Wing reboot that you guys would work on again, if you could?
Anything. Literally anything. With these guys, I would consider it my lucky day if I would get a chance to work with them again.
I would agree with that. I would definitely ditto that statement.
Yeah, it was an incredible thing. I got to work with Dulé. I'm doing a little thing with Allison now, and it's like family.
A little thing called The Diplomat season 3.
Oh, The Diplomat.
Yeah, very, very little thing.
Great one, thank you.
Yeah, my shoes are 22. By the way.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Jack. Other end of that, so I have 2 political science degrees, and I work for a very climate scientist, activist organization. And a lot of people say...
Why do you hate America?
But a lot of people say they were inspired by the ideals of the show, right? Even if parts of it didn't work, the ideals that were brought into it was almost utopian. And I know, especially Martin, you've done a lot of peace activism throughout your life. But for the entire panel, how did it change your view of politics and your personal role in activism?
For me, I was coming of age when I joined the show, and government had always seemed like this lofty place that it was untouchable, that I could not influence in any way. I think being a part of the show allowed me to realize that government is made up of people, just like me, just like you, and if I want to make change in the world or see the change in the world, then I have to be the change and be engaged and hopefully use whatever influence I have to be able to influence and inspire other people. You know, the thing that has always stuck with me is that it's people. These are all people. Yes, the country has great problems, but we're people who are making the problems, and we're also people who can solve the problems.
I came from kind of a political family, but the moment I had little kids when the show started, and that's what's kind of sort of turbocharged my sense of obligation about activism. I think there's something the show taught me, and this is a little bit of a paradox, but part of the reason we are where we are right now is I think the radical right has understood for a long time that politics is the way you create your moral vision. People who share my political perspective tend to assume democracy is inevitable, a more inclusive, forgiving world is inevitable, and that culture is the way you create your moral vision. Well, we did a great television show which will not help you if you have a pre-existing condition. Handmaid's Tale's a big hit, but there are 64,000, look it up, Journal of the American Medical Association, pregnant rape victims in our country without access to the medical care they need. Culture alone will not do it, and I think the show was about the willingness to do the difficult, frustrating, non-heroic work of building the future you want for your kids.
I always get inspired around these guys. You know, I was raised in a very large immigrant family. My mother had 12 pregnancies, 10 survived. There were 9 boys, 1 girl. My father was a factory worker all his life, and he never made more than $147 a week after 45 years in that one factory job. And he raised all us kids, and we were raised to seek the truth and to serve one another. We were taught that to serve the least was how we served ourselves best. And so when I began my professional life, and I was drawn into the social justice realm by my first employers in New York, Julian Beck and Judith Molina. They founded the Living Theater, and they were this radical group, and they did, somebody here knows who the Living Theater were? Okay, good, yeah, all right, good. Well, you know, in 1961, they were asked to represent the United States in the Théâtre de Nation in Paris, and I made that first trip. My wife and I went, and we saw the kind of vision that we could project on at least the world of art. And gradually I became involved, and I would begin to protest at social justice events, and eventually was arrested here and there. And over the years, I was arrested at all different kind of events, because you can't separate one issue from another, whether it's homelessness or abortion or what. It doesn't, they're all related because they're all about people. And most of them are about people being oppressed or not being allowed to participate, which is a form of oppression. But it got really interesting when I would get arrested on federal property, because that's a whole different ball game. And when you're arrested on federal property, like the first one, I was arrested at the Pentagon one time about nuclear proliferation, nuclear weapons, and so forth. And the first question you get asked when you're in custody, as you're being fingerprinted and photographed, is, do you advocate the overthrow of the United States government? That goes in your FBI file. And we, all the peace people, when we call ourselves peace people, we would all laugh and say, oh, are you kidding? We love the country. For heaven's sakes, no. We disagree with a few of the issues that are at stake. Like, you know, I think you have more than enough nuclear weapons, and God forbid if you have to use one or someone uses one on you. I don't think anyone profits from this. They're worth a lot of money to a lot of people, but not generally good for a lot of people. They're not generally good for anyone. And so I kept thinking about that every time I was arrested on federal property. That question is always asked: do you advocate the overthrow of the United States government? I wondered if anybody on January 6th, 4 years ago, was asked that question when they got to the congressional chambers. And then I remembered none of them were arrested that day. It was only later. But were they ever asked that question? Are any people in the government now ever asked that question? Is that part of their FBI file? If anyone knows, I'd really like to know, because I love the country enough to risk its wrath by trying to draw attention to the things that it needs to address in order to serve all the people all the time in every situation, because that's really what government is. It's about us. And the last time I was arrested was just before the pandemic began in earnest. I was arrested with Jane Fonda in the fire drill Fridays in Washington. And there was a very, very famous actor who had never been arrested before. I won't mention his name, but he was very nervous, and he kept asking, well, what do we do now? What's going to happen? I said, they'll probably ask for your autograph, you know. And they practically did. But we stood on the steps of the Congress, and you're only allowed to go so far, and that far, they determine. You cannot pass. Oh, okay, fine. And we just stand there and wait till we're arrested, because we've already passed the line. You're on you're on government property, and you have no authorization. So they give you a few minutes to decide if you're going to stay or leave. Most of us just stay, sit down if you can, and what. And then you start to see these people who are guarding the Capitol. They are the most extraordinary people. They were very excited about seeing this guy, this very famous actor. It wasn't me, it was another guy. And I was delighted, because that was the group that got beat up and some of them killed on January 6th. Those were the people. And at one point, I had to step behind the crowd, and I was astonished at how many ponytails. I didn't realize there were that many women working in that force. There were not a lot of them that day, because when they saw it coming, they withdrew, a lot of the women, but there were some there. At any rate, that's us. That was us getting our ass kicked that day. Those were people. That were you and I, trying to serve a higher power, trying to make a contribution, trying to project something about this country that no place else on earth allows that. That's in jeopardy now, friends. I think we're going to have to fill the streets and maybe fill the jails and the churches and the halls and then eventually Congress, because they got to know it's not about them. It's about us. It's all of us that love the country enough to risk its wrath, to bring attention to what's really important. It's about community. One word that unites all of us is community. It's about loving and caring for one another, and even if you can't love the one, you care enough because you'd sacrifice for that person having a right to speak, just like I'm carrying on now like an old windbag. But the older I get, the more I think I have to talk and act and just be present and let people know, just like Brad was saying, the future is yours, man. It's not those fascists. We know where that's headed. We know how that ends. There's no poetry, there's no music, there's no laughter, there's no self-effacement. They think that they are the U.S. government. They're not. We are.
Amen. Just as a coincidental side note, Josh Molina's agent called him the other day and said he can't get arrested. So.
Brad Whitford, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, before we go, gentlemen, does anybody have anything on their docket, any future projects that you're allowed to share with us, or ongoing projects currently?
Handmaid's Tale's coming out. Diplomat. I'm so proud of my wife, Amy Landecker. We just made a movie that I'm in called For Worse that just premiered at South by Southwest, and you'll be able to see it soon, and I'm very excited about it.
Looking forward to it.
And for myself, I have a Good American Family, which is out right now on Hulu. And then in a couple weeks, I'll be doing a musical off-Broadway in New York called Lights Out, Nat King Cole. And I'll be
it's wonderful
singing the songs of Nat King Cole and telling his story.
Very nice.
I hope to go and see that show and that film.
Gentlemen, one final question. Would you all like to take a picture with this amazing audience?
Yes!
We'd love to. Let's do it.
All right, everybody, please go up towards the stage, not on the stage. Towards the stage, we'll take a picture of this amazing cast and all of you. This will be available for download at our Flickr account, or if you want to purchase a hard copy today, it'll be available at any of our merchandise booths throughout the entire weekend.
Sorry, I